So this is the Molly Stark Sanitarium, and it opened in 1929 to treat people suffering from tuberculosis. This is a very large complex. What we're seeing here is really only about 1/4 of the entire complex. And as you can see, it's no longer in use. They've put a fence around it, and they have allowed the area around it to essentially become a nature preserve. And you can see ivy growing up these buildings, and trees kind of growing into them, and birds nesting, and so on and so forth. And it's just a really beautiful sight in a lot of ways, even though it's growing kind of decrepit and it's falling apart, sort of. So I like that they just put a fence around it. This way you can continue to sort of marvel at the architectural beauty while walking on the paths, and it looks a little bit like something you would see in Europe or older parts of the world, where they're not so quick to tear things down. So hats off to Stark Parks for and Stark County in general, and seeing that this is too important of a building, this is too valuable. All the ornamentation and the pomp is too impressive to just tear down. So they're keeping it up as you go for a walk on this lovely nature preserve, where they have some more ornamental trees planted, some magnolias and things like that, that were most likely planted when this was still in use, and a lot of wild trees that have just grown up since then. You can walk on the paths and really get a good view of this complex. So let's walk around a little bit here. This complex, in many ways, is also just a testament to how incredibly wealthy Stark County was at one time. Northeast Ohio in general was at one time. Canton and Stark County, it's about a little under an hour directly south of Cleveland, Ohio. And in the first part of the 20th century, Northeast Ohio in general, but especially Cleveland area, was like the Silicon Valley of its time. And there were many economists and sociologists that were basically saying they thought Cleveland area would eventually outgrow Chicago. I want to say until I think there were people still sort of predicting that until the early or mid 1950s. Some people thought Cleveland could eventually become bigger than Chicago. Of course, that didn't happen. But the type of growth, the type of innovation and wealth that was in this part of the country is just amazing. And a lot of that was hurt by NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Act, about 30 years ago. But this is a very impressive building. See the old fire hydrants there. Really cool. Roman style, Greco style architecture and archways. Really neat complex. This is really only about 1/2 of it even. We'll go around a little bit more here. You can see from time to time people have come and tried to cut through the wire, and they've gone exploring in this building. Not a good idea. Don't think it's structurally sound enough to do that. I hope people stop doing that, because I would hate to see them give up on this building completely and tear it down. I think it's really nice that people can admire the architecture of this building while they're on a walk or jog or bike ride or just driving by. That flagpole is really even something. Marble balconies, and then kind of like a Spanish style tiled roof. Kind of have a Mediterranean style architecture to this complex. Sort of Greco-Roman meets Spanish. It's really cool. So this is the Tuberculosis Sanatorium. Very beautiful. Kind of haunting. There are almost parts of the buildings that just about seem like they could still be in use, but not quite. And it would take just an unbelievable amount of money to restore this building. Not that it'd be impossible, but it would be very difficult. You can see they still have old air conditioning units that are in the windows, and ivy has just overgrown certain parts of the building. It has a very rustic sort of beauty about it. From certain angles, this almost looks like ancient ruins at times. But it's not. It was built in 1929, of course. Okay. See like little circular mosaics there as well. Let's see if we can zoom in. Over the archways, circular colored mosaics. That's really beautiful as well.